Today, I am about to make traditional gesso. To make this gesso that's been used is a very popular ground that is used in the 1300s and 1400s. The ingredient that we need is calcium carbonate. This calcium carbonate comes from Bologna. This is made from a company called Frederick. Another name for calcium carbonate is marble powder. And calcium carbonate basically is marble ground up into a fine powder. You need the binder, which is the glue, is called the rabbit skin glue. You will also need a scale. You need a pot. You need a hot plate. And you have to put water about halfway. And I will turn up the temperature. I also need a measuring cup. And these are the ingredients that you need and the tools that you need to make the gesso. And so I'm going to start making the glue first. I will put my Chinese container onto a scale. I will turn it on, and the formula or the recipe is asked for about 30 grams of glue. The rabbit skin glue is very fine, so it dissolves really fast. Now I want to put in this 30 grams of rabbit skin glue with half a liter of water or 2 cups of water. And I will stir with a spoon so the glue doesn't lump up. Now I will put it in the double boiler that I just set up. You have to remember while you letting the heat of the water to dissolve the rabbit skin glue solution that you should put your finger into the glue solution. If the glue solution becomes too hard for you to stick your finger in, that's when you know it's no good. The heat will destroy the adhesion of the glue. So you want the glue just be enough that it's comfortable for you to put your finger in, but not too hot that you cannot do. That is when your temperature is too high and you have to remove your glue solution to let it cool down first. So now, a little less than 5 minutes and until all the glue are dissolved. And the great thing, the reason I asked that we use this transparent take-out container is that we can see from the bottom if any the glue have not dissolved, it's visible from the bottom. And you do have to make sure that all the glues are dissolved. You don't want to leave any lumps because it will show later when you start gessoing. So here's the glue solution that I just made. All the granulate of the glue dissolved. Now I will use this glue and we call it sizing, which I basically using an MDF board, and that's what I like to paint on. And traditional gesso can only be applied to very stiff surface like a wooden board or we call these medium density fiber boards. Sometimes they call them hard board, okay? Because traditional gesso, when they dry, it's very brittle. So it is not really applicable on canvas where it's flexible or paper. And first, I will take a small piece of sandpaper and I'm just lightly buffed out the surface. And I just take a brush and use the glue I just made. By doing this, I will seal the board and also give it a tooth for the gesso to hit onto it. Okay. And that's how it looks once it's applied. And of course, you want it to dry. And then you put one more coat on the opposite direction. And we assume this is dry, and I'm applying a second coat on the opposite direction from the first coat. And on the second coat, I like to do on both sides. The reason I'm doing both sides so that they both have the same tension, and also that moisture will not get onto the board from the back. So I want to seal it. Now, I'm done with the glue. And I will let it dry. And I will start making, while letting the board dry, I'm going to start making the gesso. Taking the remaining glue, put it back into the warm water, double boiler. I will add again 2 cups of chalk, and then the name for it is calcium carbonate or marble dust. And this one is come from Italy, Bologna, Italy. And we will slowly introduce the chalk into the glue. The reason is that we don't want to bring bubble into the glue. That's detrimental to the gesso by having bubble. And now it's in hot water, and the water doesn't need to be boiling to a very high temperature. I turned it down, so it's not even on. It just kept on hot water. And the glue's nice and lukewarm. I can feel it in my hand. And I slowly sprinkle the chalk in. And the chalk is very heavy, and it will sink to the bottom. And I will show you what it looks like once. You cannot avoid bringing bubble into the gesso. You want to minimize it. Some people like to use, there's marble from Champagne, France, and there are marble you can get from, for instance, here from Bologna, Italy. And certain marble, depends where's mine, some are coarser, some are finer, some has a warmer tone to it, and some is whiter. And so it's really preference, which one you use. I like to use, any of them. I like to try different ones. And I don't know where the one, the marble dust from Frederick comes from. They don't really say. And they tend to be more whiter. I like a nice warm tone to my gesso. And now, if you can see, all the chalk is sunk to the bottom of the glue. I want to leave it there, let the chalk soak for about a minute or 2 so that it gets all absorbed with the glue. And then what I will do is I will take the same spoon and slowly I'm going to fold, not whip, because by whipping and stirring, I'm introducing more bubble into the gesso. I don't want to do that. So what I'm really trying to do is prevent lumps. And so I slowly fold and slowly stir the chalk and bring it up. And I think I just make traditional gesso. And that's how it is. And again, if the reason I say bubble is not good for gesso is that when you start brushing on the gesso on the board, the bubble will form on the surface, the air bubble, and when it pops, it forms little pits on the surface. And there's a way to fix that, but that's a lot of work. So you want to kind of minimize the air bubble by not stirring too vigorously. And you can see how I'm doing it. I'm just scooping the bottom, bringing the chalk up, and scooping the bottom and bringing the chalk up. And now it's pretty even. And I can see there's some bubble coming to the surface, but that's okay. Now we are going to apply our first coat of traditional gesso on the board we just prepared earlier with the glue. Now you can see the glue is dry on both sides. And I like to use a nice 3-inch or 2.5-inch brush. You don't want to use a tiny brush, and you want to apply it as neatly as possible. And the application of each coat of the gesso, you need to apply them thinly. There's no shortcuts. Don't try to put one thick coat and hoping that that will speed up the process. No, it will just harm the surface of the gesso. It will crack when you apply thick coats. And so we like to apply about 8 to 10 coats. And I like to do the edge. I lift it up. And I like to take the brush, the excess, and also brush the back. And I will take my existing spoon. I'm just going to put it on the edge and just kind of like that. So the bottom doesn't have full contact to the table. And as you see, oh, this looks like hardly anything on the surface. And that's just an illusion. The first coat will dry, and you're still going to see the board underneath. But by the time you get to the 5th and 6th coat, it will start covering up the whole surface of your support. And usually it takes about, depending on the humidity of the day or the temperature, that has a factor in how fast each coat dries. And I happen to have a board that I have already applied 10 coats of gesso. And really remove a lot of the unevenness. Rough surface, and then you can skip this method.